Okay. We now call the meeting of the Technical Coordinating Committee to order. Please give your attention to this short video.
I don't see a video. Are other people seeing a video?
One moment, please.
Oh, sure. Take your time.
Due to COVID-19, this meeting will be conducted as a Zoom meeting pursuant to the provisions of the Governor's Executive Order N-2920, which suspends certain requirements of the Brown Act. This meeting is being live-streamed on the CCTA website. The chair will call upon members, staff, and other speakers by name. Please speak clearly and state your name before giving comments or remarks. Persons participating via Zoom with their cameras enabled are reminded that their activities are visible to viewers. Members participating by Zoom wishing to speak should physically raise their hand and unmute their mic when called upon. Members should remute their mics when done speaking. Citizens participating by Zoom wishing to speak should use the Raise Hand feature or dial *9 if participating via phone, and the chair or staff will call upon them at the appropriate time. Citizens will have 3 minutes to speak. A 30-second warning will be provided. After 3 minutes, staff will lower their hand and mute their mic. Participants via phone will be called upon by the last 4 digits of their phone number. It is requested that public speakers state their names and organization, but providing such information is voluntary. Written public comments received in accordance with the COVID-19 Special Notice for Public Comment Guidelines are printed on the meeting agenda. If authors of the written correspondence would like to speak, they should raise their hand and the chair will call upon them at the appropriate time. All written correspondence received after that and during the meeting will be entered into the record. A roll call vote will be taken for all action items. Thank you for participating in a meeting of the Contra Costa Transportation Authority.
I don't know about the rest of you, but I wish I had a voice like that.
And Christina, please take roll.
Okay, Member Anderson. Member Ballinger. Member Bobadilla. Member Chen.
Here.
Member Conradi. Member Diaz.
Here.
Member Dillard.
Here.
Member Fahey.
Here.
Member Greenblatt.
Here.
Member Kursavan. Member Mercurio.
Present.
Thank you. Member Moreno. Member Nelson. Member Ortiz. Here. Member Parikh. Member Reeves. Here. Member Rouhani. Member Singh. Member Smith.
Here.
Member Wang. Member Stamps. I'm sorry, Vice Chair Stamps.
Here.
Thank you. And Chair Wells.
Here.
And do we have any alternates here?
Yes, for clarification, Member Diaz, this is the alternate, also last name Diaz
Okay,
for Tri-Delta Transit.
thank you. And then also Member Seal.
Correct. I'm an alternate.
Thank you.
Okay, so the next item on the agenda is public comment. Christina, have we received any public comment?
No, we have not.
Is there anyone wishing to speak during public comment on an item that is not part of the agenda? If so, please raise your hand and I or staff will call upon you. The next item on the agenda is the consent calendar. Are there any changes, comments, et cetera, from the committee? Does anyone want to pull an item? Are there any public comment? If so, please raise your hand and I or staff will call on you. Due to the size of the technical coordinating committee, we will handle a motion and roll call vote after the last regular agenda item has been presented. So moving on, the next item on the agenda is an informal item on the project monitoring. Stephanie, who will present this item. Are there any committee comments?
May I give my report first and then I'll take it?
No, you may not. We're gonna roll right along.
Help me with that.
So
I can
we
skip right through. I don't care.
So now Stephanie will present her report.
Great. Thank you.
I move to
Chair Wells.
adjourn.
I mean, good afternoon, everyone, and hope you guys are doing well. Your packet includes the regular standing items for the monitoring reports for the SIP, OBAG, ATP, HCP, HSIP, and inactive projects. So really want to turn your attention to the OBAG tables, which are shown on pages 65 and 66, and they're for the fiscal year 2020 and 2021 and 2021-2022. There are still a couple of projects in the fiscal year 2021 that are yet to be obligated, and staff are continuing to follow up and email these project sponsors on status. And then for the fiscal year 21-22 projects, which is coming up, and there are quite a few for this coming federal fiscal year, please remember to begin your field review if you're on this list. If you have them at least scheduled, if not completed. You may recall the MTC does their annual obligation plan efforts sometime in the summer. So in a month or so, we will be gearing up for that effort and providing project list to MTC, and they used completion of field review as a indicator of readiness to be listed on the plan. And MTC submits this AOP, or annual obligation plan, to Caltrans local assistance in September. So if you could complete your field review by then, that will just secure you a spot on the application plan, and that provides the guarantee of funding. The RFA, or the request for authorization, has been changed December 1 for a couple of years now, and I expect that to remain the same. And then the obligation deadline, or the RFA, is still January 31st. So you know that after that date, the funds become first come, first serve for the whole region. So it'd be ideal to get your E76 by end of January to make sure your funds are in place. Also wanted to note that with the E76, you need to award your contract within 6 months. So just remember those different milestones to not run into trouble with inactive obligations or untimely obligations. So just remember those dates for your project schedule coordination. And happy to assist if you need help with that. Please do contact me and we can walk through it if you like. And on page 70 is our ATP table, and you'll see it's updated for cycle 5 awards. Our county received 3 successful projects on the list, and one is in Richmond, and the other is the county, and the third one is actually District 4 Caltrans sponsored project for a bike ped bridge at Central Avenue in West County. And then lastly, the important and active list. This month is a bit longer than usual, so please remember to invoice regularly to your local assistance engineer, and or if it's submitted, just continue to follow up with them on any issues. With that, I'm happy to take any questions.
Are there any committee comments? Are there any public comments? If so, please raise your hand and I or staff will call on you. Nope. So the next item on the agenda is the release of the draft 2021 congestion management program. Hisham Noemi will present this item.
Chair Wells, that's actually me today.
Okay.
Hisham's in Jordan, so he may have a tough time getting on this meeting. Thanks, Chair Wells. It's great to have you as chair. And I'm here, Matt Kelly, Senior Transportation Planner with the authority to present the draft 2021 Congestion Management Program. If you've been around a while, as some of you have, you know we do this every 2 years. It is a state requirement to prepare and update a congestion management program for the county, as CCTA is the congestion management agency. So, you know, I don't want to belabor the kind of routine updates we do on this, because most of it's just kind of internal updates we make to make it technically accurate. And I explain this to you and the board every time we do this. The 1991 CMP legislation was based on CCTA's Measure C growth management program. So the state saw what we were doing and said, hey, we need a program like that statewide. So in 1991, the CMP legislation was passed. We defer to most of the requirements in the CMP to our growth management program activities because they fulfill most of the requirements. We were already doing it. So we do kind of, I won't say two parallel efforts because I say we defer, we do everything in the growth management program and then defer to it when we're preparing the CMP. So there's some important parts of the CMP that we think are valid efforts. And one is the monitoring of the CMP system, which we do every 2 years. This year we did it in the spring. We monitor 65 intersections around the county, all the freeway segments for their level of service. This is a state requirement requiring level of service monitoring, which, as you may recognize, is not in line with the state's other legislation, SB 743, which gets rid of level of service as a standard in CEQA. So it's a valuable exercise in that we're able to track transportation over time, and you know it'll be interesting to look at it this time with COVID in place. Our monitoring, you know, this spring with, you know, I think we're going to see PM kind of looking more like normal and AM looking less like normal. But I think it's a good exercise to be tracking this. And of course, we make all the information at the intersections available to the local jurisdictions. You can have our synchro files, our count sheets, which includes bike and pedestrian counts at all these locations. So there is some value there. We also have the CIP, the Capital Improvement Program, which we want to make sure is up to date. So while the draft is out, we will be asking project sponsors to update their projects. And they should be capital projects, not your kind of, you know, routine maintenance projects. They should be major capital projects. But we will reach out to you on that with your projects and ask you to update them over the summer. But the main part that I'd like to talk about today is something new, and you've probably got from the tone of my voice that it is pretty routine. Some of it is antiquated with the level of service, and it's maybe duplicative because of the growth management program. So this year, one of the things we wanted to introduce is the idea of opting out of the CMP. MTC puts together guidance on the CMP every 2 years. This year, their guidance is encouraging counties to consider it. One of the reasons we've never really broached the subject is because we were worried that we may miss out on regional funding or state or federal funding that flows through MTC to the CMAs. So one of the things we want to do is make sure we are not going to lose any of that if we were to opt out of the CMP process. So Alameda CTC, Transportation Agency of Marin, or Authority of Marin, and CCTA are kind of working directly with MTC right now to make sure that if any of us were to opt out during the cycle, which all three of us are considering, that we would not be at risk of losing any funds, any pass-through funds or any other funds that we get as being a CMA. Sonoma County did it several years ago. They have not lost anything. That we met with them. They say there's no issue there, and we just saw LA County do it through their LA Metro agency opted out. They have told us they have not lost any funds. So, but we do want to get that in writing from MTC, which we are doing kind of right now. So we don't plan on opting out by the time the CMP is adopted later this year. We just want to have it as a recommendation as part of the CMP to, if you guys think it's a good idea, if our board thinks it's a good idea, to kind of initiate that once the CMP is completed. So by the next cycle, we would opt out. We are proposing to just do a very minor technical update of the 21 CMP. So the process for opting out basically involves a lot of you. We would have to get a resolution from a majority of the cities that comprise a majority of the county's population. So, and basically you would just have to prepare, we would provide you with a template resolution, and basically you would just have to, in this resolution, say you are okay with CCTA opting out, but we wouldn't expect you to do that until we've done our due diligence to make sure that, one, we're still getting all the money that would flow through to you potentially, or money that would fund your projects, and also that the current activities that you pay for as part of your annual CMA dues are still in place. So some of those things that we do as part of those CMA dues is we prepare the bike ped plan, we update the action plans, we work with you on your Measure J projects, we coordinate the RTP, your projects in the RTP, we do a countywide transportation plan. Basically all the things we do are funded by your, in part by your CMA fees annually. So we want to demonstrate to you that we're still going to be doing all these things and that there won't be a risk of any funds lost. So that's what we will attempt to do should you all and the board recommend that we opt out of the CMP process. But that's not a decision we have to make today. All we're doing today is releasing the draft CMP for circulation. We'll take it to the RTPCs in September, and after the board releases it in July. So we'll have the summer to you'll have the summer to comment on it, update those project listings, and we'll go from there. And we'll report back to you on our discussions with MTC. So I just wanted to describe to you what's in the scope of the CMP, but really I wanted to talk to you about opting out and bring the subject up so it wasn't a surprise down the road. And we don't expect you to be comfortable with it today, but hopefully if we get all of our assurances from MTC, it will be something that you'll be comfortable with, because we don't anticipate there would be any change to our member agencies in terms of the service you're getting from CCTA. We do think it would be an efficiency for CCTA and not spending money on a program that is already covered by our growth management program. So that's my presentation today, and I can certainly take any questions.
Are there any committee comments?
Yeah, Matt, this is Steve. If everything remains the same, What are we gaining by opting out?
By not having to prepare this plan every 2 years, we see it as an exercise. All of our focus is on the countywide plan, the action plans, all those things under the growth management program, where this is just this kind of, it's hanging out here. It's a state requirement and we have to do it. You know, it's somewhat duplicative. We're trying to find out whether we could legally call ourselves a congestion management agency once we opt out of the congestion management program. So that's a nuance, but right now, Sonoma, they consider themselves a CMA, but they don't technically call themselves a CMA. So yeah, it's one of those things where, you know, should we just be focusing our effort on the GMP and not the CMP?
Like you have 2 lungs, but you only really need 1. Anyway, I've worked with you guys for a long time. I trust whatever you guys come up with, so I'll wait to see what you guys have for us. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
Are there any other committee comments?
Just a quick question. Matt, just curious, why is the regional agency encouraging the CMAs to consider opting out?
That's a good question. We don't know exactly why. We just think they think that the CMP is I think kind of an antiquated effort. You know, they haven't made any intention to align with SB 743 and the changes in CEQA. And what other counties would have to do that don't have a growth management program is they would then have to do a countywide transportation plan. Not all counties do that. So it would just kind of shift the way people address congestion management. They would be doing it in a CTP as opposed to the CMP. So I think MTC sees it as being more efficient and allows the counties to really, you know, to not just be focused on this LOS, you know, measure and be able to bring in other measures as part of their own countywide plans. You know, they still wouldn't have to do EIRs like we have to do in our growth management program, CTP. But yeah, I don't know for sure. I just think they think it's an antiquated program that causes them extra work as well.
Any additional committee comments?
And Matt, this is Andy. Thanks for the presentation. So if we don't have to do it, I mean, why not opt out? And I might propose that, you know, this money be better spent with investing more in VMT and preparing the county and jurisdictions to meet their VMT requirements. So some sort of program designed around that, potentially. Just a food for thought, but I don't know what you spend on this every couple of years, but.
Well, mostly it's monitoring. And so what we would probably propose to do is continue to do the monitoring, but focus less on the CMP network. Because Andy, as you may know, you guys don't have any intersections anywhere in the SWAT subregion. So you aren't getting a lot of benefit out of it. So maybe, you know, the monitoring could focus on the action plan RTOs, MTSOs, as opposed to the CMP intersection. There is some overlap between those locations, but the MTSOs cover a lot wider geographic area and go beyond LOS.
Okay, do we have any additional comments? Are there any public comment? Oh, sorry, Yvette.
Question. No, that's fine. I had a question. Matt, just in terms of, I may have missed it, but when are you planning on releasing the traffic monitoring report? Because I do think it's really interesting data to look at traffic counts.
Yeah, I talked about the monitoring, but I neglected to tell you when you get to see it. We're finalizing that right now, and we expect to bring it to the TCC in September.
So.
And I'll also add that this time around, we have prepared a dashboard. So you don't have to look at a report. You can look at a report, but you can look at it graphically on a website that, changes colors depending on the time period. Basically you can look at your own version of the CMP monitoring based on what you want to see.
That's great. Thanks.
Okay, so any additional committee comments? And are there any public comments?
No, I don't see any.
So now for a motion and roll call vote to approve the following items. Item 3, approval of the consent calendar. And item 4B, approval to forward the draft 2021 CMP to the Planning Committee and Authority Board for release to the RTPCs and other interested parties for review and comment. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Andy Smith.
A second. Great. So I have a first by Member Smith and a second by Member Fade. Christina, please conduct a roll call vote.
Okay, Member Anderson, Member Bellinger, Member Bobadilla, Member Chen,
Aye.
Member Conradi, Member Diaz, Member Dillard,
Aye.
Member Fahey,
Aye.
Member Greenblatt,
Yes.
Member Kirsavan,
Yes.
Member Mercurio,
Aye.
Member Moreno, Member Nelson, Member Ortiz,
Aye.
Member Parikh, Member Reeves,
Yes.
Member Rawani, Member Singh, Member Smith,
Yes.
Member Wang, alternate member Seal,
Aye.
and then alternate member Diaz.
Aye. Sorry, I responded to the member Diaz earlier.
Oh, that's okay.
He's
I
not
didn't-
here. Sorry.
Okay, that's okay. All right, the motion passes with members present.
And do we have any other business? Well, I guess that wraps things up today. The meeting is, wait, we can go ahead and adjourn, right? Okay.
Yes, we can.
Thank you. The meeting is adjourned at 3:03 p.m.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff, Ricky. Thank you.
Thank you.